Mallorca was supposed to fix everything. That's what people say, right? A little sun, a little sangria, and suddenly the cracks in your marriage are just rustic charm. I even bought the stupid travel journal she hinted at months ago, so we can capture the memories. Blank pages still smelled like bookstore optimism. We landed in Palma on a Sunday. The hotel was perched on a cliff like it had something to prove. Whitewashed walls, infinity pool, lemon trees, all of it staged for couples trying to rekindle something. I remember thinking the place looked like a postcard with a secret. By day 3, the weather was perfect and we still hadn't touched each other. She said the jet lag was brutal. I said nothing. We ate dinner with other guests, smiled for photos, and she laughed at things I didn't say. That night I couldn't sleep. It was around 2 a.m. when I got up, walked barefoot through the echo of marble floors, and wandered toward the end of the hall. The sea was black glass outside the windows. I was looking for the ice machine, or maybe I was just trying to feel useful. There's something about silence that makes you desperate for chores. Then I saw it. Not her. Her name. A towel, monogrammed. A white spa towel embroidered with a name that didn't belong in that room. A room that wasn't ours. The door was cracked. Soft blue light spilled into the hall. I didn't knock. I didn't charge in. I didn't play the movie version of myself. I just stood there. There are moments in life where your mind splits in two, one side screaming denial, the other already packing your emotional bags. I stared at that towel like it had called me by name. Her name. Our last name. But the room number wasn't ours. We were in 308. This was 322. Same floor. Same hall. But not our room. And not our towel. I turned back slowly, like the hallway was full of landmines. The kind that don't explode until you're halfway down the flight home, and she's offering you gum like she didn't just erase you from her story. When I got back to our room, she was already asleep. Or pretending to be. Her breathing was too perfect. I stared at her for a long time. Not like a man trying to solve a mystery. Like a man who already knew the ending but still had to read the last page. The next morning, I made her coffee. She likes it sweet, 2 sugars, oat milk, and that weird cinnamon dusting she picked up from some influencer's video. I made it exactly the way she likes. Not because I was feeling generous. Because I wanted to see if she could lie with cinnamon on her lip. She smiled when she took it. Thanks, babe. Babe. Like we weren't standing on opposite ends of a secret. Like I hadn't seen her name outside a room that wasn't ours. I said nothing. Just nodded and pretended to scroll through my phone while she fussed with her swimsuit. I think I'll hit the spa after breakfast, she said, stretching like it was a new personality she was trying on. I glanced up. Which room's the spa in again? She paused. What? Never mind. I smiled and sipped my coffee. She left around 10. I waited 10 minutes, then walked back to 322. Housekeeping was in the hallway. Their cart was parked beside the door. One of the staff, young guy, early 20s, polite, looked up as I approached. Excuse me, I said, my voice casual. I think my wife might have left something in a friend's room earlier. Room 322. Do you know if anyone's checked out yet? He looked at the door, then at me. No, still occupied. Any idea when they might be back? He shrugged. She just stepped out for breakfast, I think. That detail hit harder than it should have. I nodded thanks and walked away. I didn't go back to our room. Not yet. I went to the hotel's guest computer in the lounge. Opened a private tab. Checked our reservation. 1 room. 1 key card issued to her. I checked the itemized bill. There were spa charges, 1 massage under her name, 1 under someone else's. And then there was this. Room service. Room 322, 2:17 a.m. Chocolate mousse and sparkling water. Not to our room. Not to our name. To 322. That's when my hands stopped shaking. That's when I knew. See, denial only works when the story is holes. This one was seamless. No cracks. No wiggle room. She had her own room. She had her own story. And I was just the guy holding the travel journal. By lunch, I had enough evidence to sink a marriage. Not that I needed it. Truth is, it doesn't take a full trial when you catch someone with the metaphorical lipstick on their soul. But still, I gathered my receipts, photo of the towel, screenshot of the room service charge, her spa appointment listed beside a name I didn't recognize. M. Rivas. Not a friend from yoga. Not the woman she sat next to on the plane. Just an initial and a confirmation of intimacy. At lunch, she ordered mussels. I watched her dip each shell in lemon and broth like nothing was out of place. She talked about the weather, the beach, a local art gallery she might want to see if she wasn't so tired. Rough night? I asked. She looked up, blinked once. What? You said you were tired. Just wondering if you didn't sleep well. Oh, she said, tucking hair behind her ear. No, I was up late watching something. Fell asleep with the TV on. I nodded. In our room. Pause. Yeah, of course, she said too quickly. Why? I shook my head, smiled faintly. Just wondering. That was the whole conversation. No accusation. No fireworks. Just the kind of exchange that says, I know what you did, and I'm giving you this last moment to tell me before I stop asking entirely. She didn't bite. Just went back to her muscles. The bill came. I paid. She thanked me. And that was it, the whole moment. I left the receipt on the table like a funeral program and followed her out into the sunshine. She slipped her arm through mine, like we were still us. But her grip was loose, like someone who knew a cliff was coming and didn't want to be holding anything when they fell. We spent the afternoon by the pool. Or rather, she did. I sat under an umbrella nursing a drink I didn't really want, watching her stretch out on a lounge chair like she'd never committed a felony with her lies. She wore the green bikini I bought her 2 summers ago. Back then, it had made me feel lucky. Now it looked like evidence. She had sunglasses on, but I could still tell when her eyes flicked toward me. Quick checks. Like she was monitoring something she couldn't name. Like she knew I was different, but couldn't find the dial I'd quietly turned. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I just existed. That was the beginning of my revenge. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just cold. Calculated. Like turning off the heat and watching someone wonder why they're suddenly freezing. I spent an hour pretending to read, then I got up and went back to the room. Room 308. The innocent one. I unlocked the door and walked to the balcony. From there, I could see most of the resort. The pool where she was lounging. The terrace bar. The hallway that led to room 322. And suddenly, I wasn't just hurt. I was strategic. Because if betrayal teaches you anything, it's how to stop bleeding long enough to plan your next move. I sat down with my notebook, not the travel journal she gave me, but my own. The one I always packed but never used. This time, it became a blueprint. Step 1. Make her feel safe. People only show their real face when they think the mask is worked. Step 2. Gather everything. Names. Times. Room numbers. Voices. She was sloppy, liars usually are. When they believe they deserve the lie, they stop covering their tracks. Step 3. Break her world gently. Then make sure it never rebuilds the same. See, I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. That's what she expected. Some midnight argument. A ruined dinner. A broken wine glass and a shattered ego. But I wasn't giving her that scene. I'd watched enough of her performances. I wasn't auditioning for another one. I wanted silence. I wanted the quiet disassembly of her illusion. And it started with the concierge. I found him folding brochures at the front desk, the kind of guy who probably moonlights as an actor or a bar singer. He smiled, all hospitality. Can I help you, sir? I leaned in just slightly. Yes, actually. I'd like to arrange something special for my wife. His smile widened. Of course. Anniversary. Something like that. I paused. Let him lean into the moment. Then, do you know if room 322 has any adjoining suites? He blinked. I believe so. Yes. You're looking to upgrade. Something like that, I repeated. I told him I wanted to surprise her. Make it memorable. Champagne. Flowers. A note. Could he help me book the room beside hers? He didn't even hesitate. Certainly. We can arrange that discreetly. Perfect, I said, and gave him a tip big enough to buy his silence for a week. The adjoining room was room 320, right next to hers. Paper-thin walls. I walked in, turned on the fan to drown out suspicion, and placed one of those cheap local audio recorders under the shared nightstand wall. You can buy them anywhere these days, market stalls, tourist traps, even airport kiosks. They're marketed for interviews, language learners. But they don't care what you use them for. The trick is patience. Let the world reveal itself. Back in our room, she was changing into a sundress. I could smell her perfume in the air, light citrus, same scent she used when we first met. Back when she still chose it for me. She smiled like nothing had happened. We should catch the sunset, she said. Sure, I replied. She leaned in to kiss me. I turned my cheek. And I swear, for just a second, I saw the flicker. The glitch in her performance. A moment where she felt the distance between us and couldn't place the source. That's when I knew she'd fall apart. Because the kind of person who betrays doesn't fear losing love. They fear losing control. We watched the sunset in silence. She tried small talk. I let it pass over me like wine through a broken window. Later, after dinner, she said she was going to run down to the spa to check their hours. I nodded. She left in sandals and lip gloss. No purse. No hesitation. I waited 3 minutes, then walked back to room 320. Hit record. Sat down in the quiet. 15 minutes later, I heard it. The giggle. The voice, her voice. A man laughing. A second door closing. And her whisper. 10 minutes before my husband even notices I'm gone. She was wrong. I noticed. And the timer had already started ticking. I didn't listen to the whole recording right away. I didn't need to not yet. The opening lines were enough to confirm it. The giggle, the whisper, the way her voice dropped into that soft, secret tone she used to use with me when she still believed in us. It wasn't rage I felt. Not really. More like the opposite of rage. A kind of clarity. The calm that shows up after a storm instead of during it. Like your body has decided the heart can't be trusted anymore, so it's locking the doors and turning off the lights. I went back to room 308 before she returned. The keycard slipped in smoothly. The room still smelled faintly like sunscreen and my fading trust. She came back 20 minutes later with damp hair and a small towel over her shoulders. Spa's closed early, she said, casually dropping her flip-flops near the door. Shame, I replied, not looking up from my book. She didn't press. That's the thing about liars. They don't fish for details unless they think you might be fishing too. And I wasn't giving her anything. I was done feeding the performance. We went to sleep in the same bed that night. Her body curled toward mine like it used to, but my shoulders didn't move. I lay still, awake, counting the breaths between us. She fell asleep fast. Must be nice, being the villain with no conscience. I stared at the ceiling fan and thought about all the times I apologized for things I didn't do. All the times I blamed work, stress, routine. Never once did I think to blame her. Because that's what love does. It builds alibis for people long after they stop earning them. But now? Now I was building a case, not a defense. The next morning, she was chipper. Want to take that hike up to the lighthouse today? I looked at her face. Bright. Clean. Empty. Actually, I was thinking of doing something solo today, I said. She tilted her head. Really? You okay? Yeah, I lied. Just want a little space. She smiled, but I saw it, the first flicker of fear. Not panic. Just unease. Like someone who spots smoke and doesn't yet realize the building's already on fire. Sure, she said, tone light. I might just hit the shops then. I nodded. Enjoy. I watched her walk out, then pulled out my notebook. The list was growing. Recording. Check. Separate itinerary. Check. Like confirmed. Check. New plan. Activate. I went to the concierge again. Asked for an envelope. Wrote her name on it slowly, deliberately. Inside, I placed one thing, a printed receipt. Room 322, room service, 2:17 a.m. Sparkling water, chocolate mousse, 2 spoons, and a sticky note I'd written in block letters. I see more than you think. No anger, no signature, just that. I gave it to the front desk with a calm smile. Please deliver this to room 322 this afternoon. No rush. He nodded. Discreetly. Always. I went to the beach. Stared at the sea for 2 hours without moving. I didn't cry. I didn't break. I just settled into something harder than grief. Something stronger. When I returned that evening, she was in our room, glass of wine in hand, and the smile was gone. You had a good day? I asked, breezing past her like the air had shifted and only one of us noticed. She didn't answer right away. Just stared at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle she didn't realize she'd created. Then, did you go anywhere near the front desk today? I shrugged. Probably. Why? She held up the envelope like it was radioactive. This. I glanced at it and nodded once. Ah. She waited. I offered nothing. You wrote this. Do you think I did? She blinked, confused. Well, did you? I took off my sunglasses, folded them neatly, placed them on the table. I think if I had, I'd be a lot more interested in your reaction. She looked down at the note. What does it mean? I met her eyes for the first time in days. I think it means someone's watching. She stood still, hand frozen mid-glass. But I don't understand. What are you trying to say? I'm not saying anything, I said. I'm just listening. And with that, I turned and walked into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. Not slamming it. Just shutting it softly, like a punctuation mark she didn't expect. She knocked 10 minutes later. Elle? Come on. What's going on with you? I didn't answer. She knocked again. We can talk, okay? If something's bothering you, I want to know. Another lie. And I let her sit with it. Later that night, she was quiet. Not angry. Just cautious. Like someone tiptoeing across a frozen lake, unsure where the cracks start. She poured another glass of wine but didn't drink it. She kept checking her phone like she expected someone to text her a better script. One where she's the victim. One where I'm still blind. But I didn't play along. And that was the start of her unraveling. There's a kind of tension that doesn't need shouting. No slam doors, no threats. Just two people pretending the room isn't on fire while quietly checking each other's temperature. That was breakfast the next morning. She buttered toast. I sipped black coffee. The usual sounds, clinking cutlery, hotel plates tapping together, should have made the space feel normal. But everything between us was staged now. Like two actors refusing to break character. You slept okay? She asked. It sounded innocent. Like the line had been rehearsed in a mirror. Didn't even notice you were there, I replied. She hesitated. The knife paused on the bread just slightly. Then the performance resumed. That's good, I guess. I nodded. Real good. That was it. No fighting. No accusations. Just tension sharpened to a point so fine, it could cut bone. She wore sunglasses to breakfast. It wasn't that bright. I think she didn't want me to see her eyes. Guilt lives there. It always does. I watched her take a bite, chew slowly like she was stalling for time, and I realized something important. She was more afraid of what I might know than anything I could actually say. That was leverage. That was power. After breakfast, I let her have her day. Said I was going into town, maybe visit the monastery up the hill. She nodded like she was grateful. Probably needed time to coordinate with him. Rivas. I walked 2 blocks, bought a bottle of water from a gift shop, and doubled back. Back to room 320, the one next to hers. Unlocked it. Stepped inside. The room was quiet. Still, it smelled like fresh towels and tension. I sat on the edge of the bed, pulled out the recorder. Rewound. Pressed play. And there it was again. The voice. His. Clearer now. You think he suspects anything? He asked. She laughed. A little too loud. Please. He's probably journaling about architecture right now. Charming. She always mocked the way I noticed things. I thought it was endearing that she'd tease my little habits like they were inside jokes. But now I realized those were dress rehearsals for contempt. He said something about checking out before Sunday. I caught it. Room 322 was booked only until Saturday night. That meant I had a deadline. A ticking clock. And I already knew how I'd use it. That afternoon, I went to the rooftop bar. Ordered a drink. Sat with my phone like any other tourist. But I wasn't scrolling Instagram. I was writing the letter. A very specific kind of letter. To M. Rivas. Printed, sealed, and delivered by a neutral party, the concierge who, bless him, thought he was helping some lovesick husband surprise his wife with poetry. Inside the envelope was no threat. No confrontation. Just a photograph. Of me. Sitting at breakfast with her. Laughing fake, yes, but convincing enough. Her hand was on my wrist. I'd waited weeks to capture that photo. Had to earn that casual touch. But I got it. Under the photo, I'd written, "You were never the secret." I was. That was the whole message. I didn't sign it. I didn't have to. See, guys like him, they enjoy sneaking around because it makes them feel clever. But deep down, they hate being played. They don't want to be someone's tool. And I wanted him to feel used. Replaced. Like he'd been watching a magic trick that wasn't even about him. The concierge delivered it by 5 p.m. By 5:12, room 322's door slammed loud enough to echo down the hallway. I heard it from 2 floors up. By 5:20, she came back to our room, red-faced, flustered, lips tight. Something happened? I asked. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Just shook her head. Bad paella? I offered. No, she said slowly. I think I need a nap. Long day? I asked. She gave me a look, 1 part suspicion, 2 parts fear, and walked straight into the bathroom. Locked the door. That night, I sat on the balcony with a beer while she slept in the room behind me. Alone. No whispered calls. No secret texts. No spa appointments. Just silence. The silence of a woman who realized the walls were thinner than she thought, and the man she'd underestimated was suddenly very, very quiet. I took another sip of beer. This wasn't revenge yet. This was the warning shot. Let her sweat. Let her guess. Let her wonder what I knew. And what came next. Because the real damage wasn't what she'd done behind my back. It was realizing I wasn't behind her anymore at all. By the next morning, she was pacing. She never paced. She was a lounge and scroll kind of woman. But now, she couldn't sit still. Something about her movements was just a little too purposeful. Like she was rehearsing worry. "Have you seen my necklace?" she asked. "You brought one. The gold one. The one you gave me for our anniversary." I sipped my coffee. "You mean the one you didn't pack?" She froze mid-step. I didn't wait for her to respond. I stood up and walked toward the window, letting the weight of the moment hang in the air like a swinging light bulb. She was unraveling. Not from guilt, but from uncertainty. The scariest thing in the world for a dishonest person is someone they can't read. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I simply existed in her blind spot, just out of reach. That afternoon, she followed me. I took the long hallway toward the cliff walk, felt her a few steps behind. Not subtle, not smooth. I stopped suddenly, turned, caught her mid-step. "You good?" I asked. She blinked. "Yeah, just stretching my legs." "Might want to stretch somewhere else," I said. "Some paths lead off cliffs." Her jaw tightened. She turned around without a word. Score. Me. 1. Her. Unraveling. Day 5. I went to the concierge again, this time with a new request: printouts, receipts, bookings, timestamps. Then I emailed myself the audio files. All of them. From room 320's wall. I saved them to a cloud folder. Labeled neatly. And here's where the fun part starts. I booked a couple's massage under both our names. Told her it was a surprise. She lit up. "You're serious?" I nodded. "You said you wanted to reconnect. So let's." She bought it. Not because I was convincing, but because she wanted to believe the storm had passed. Because people like her never imagine the thunder that comes after the lightning. The massage was scheduled for 6 p.m. At 5:50, I handed the front desk a sealed envelope, this time addressed to her. Inside was a keycard to room 320 and a note. "Go now. Alone. He won't be there. But you'll want to hear it anyway." She didn't return to our room that night. I waited. On the balcony. 1 hour. 2. 3. She didn't come back. When she finally did, sometime near dawn, her eyes were hollow. Her voice didn't work right. Like she had walked through the wreckage of her own house and realized she'd set the fire herself. "You recorded us," she whispered. I nodded. "And you planned this." "I didn't plan your choices," I said. "I just paid attention to the consequences." She sat down on the bed, slowly, like her bones couldn't bear the weight of her ego anymore. "You sent it to anyone?" "No." She looked up, hope flickering in her like a candle about to give up. "But you will," she said. "I might. And what do you want?" I looked her straight in the eyes. Nothing. She didn't believe me, which was perfect. Because nothing is scarier than a man with no demands. Checkout day. I packed my bag before she even got out of bed. She sat up slowly, blinking against the morning. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Home," I said. "Eventually." "And me?" "You? You'll go wherever you always plan to. I'm just finally not part of the background." She stood and walked toward me. "Please, don't leave like this." I zipped my suitcase. "There's no like this. There's just left." She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Then I pulled out my phone. Opened the folder. Tapped share. She flinched. "You wouldn't." I smiled gently. "Probably not. But maybe. But maybe." I left her with that. Not a threat. Not blackmail. Just a door left slightly open. The kind of thing a guilty person walks past every day, wondering if today's the day someone steps through it. Cruel revenge? No. Cruel would have been public humiliation. This was surgical. I made her feel exposed in the quiet. Made her realize that nothing she did was hidden. Not from me. Not from herself. She used lies to rewrite our story. So I erased her from mine. She'll never know what I told people. Or what I didn't. She'll live in fear of a truth no one's confirmed, because I never raised my voice. I just stopped talking. And that silence? That's louder than anything she's ever screamed.